off went the beating of the clock as I was walking up and down the floor. Knock, knock, him was standing in my lock. They were turning me loose once more. I said my turn, get along, yeah. Going home, see my dear. Big dog, he be no wrong. I never wanna hear you again. Squawk, squawk, said the warden when he talked. He was telling me how to be good. Click, click, went the train on the track. He couldn't get me now if he thought he could. On my way back to my home, pay for what I did wrong. Take off, give me no call. I won't put up with you no more, yeah! I was looking for my darling dear. Smack, smack, came a sounding from a shack. He was chasing my pastry and tan. I shot that critter in the head. I killed that rascal, killed him dead. Big talk, he be no wrong. I listen to you till I'm dead. Whoa, oh, big talk, he be no clock. Whoa, oh, knock, knock, when they lock him, lock. Whoa, oh, squawk, squawk, said there wasn't many talk. Whoa, oh, smack, smack, came a sounding from my shack. Whoa, oh, big talk, he be no clock. I listen to you till I'm dead. Listen to you till I'm dead. Listen to you till I'm dead.
Hey y'all, you're listening to the Juke Joint Revival. You just heard some Bob Callaway with the song Tock, Big Red 1958. He is joining us right now, Bob Callaway, all the way from Bristow, Oklahoma currently.
That's right, Jenny.
But before you were from Spiro, Oklahoma.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming in to visit with us today. First off, tell us about your musical start into rockabilly music.
Hey, first let me say it's quite a privilege to be here with you, Juke Joint Jenny. This is great, and appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about some of our music. I got started in the music field back in the mid-'50s, and at the ripe old age of 14 in the small town of Spiro, Oklahoma, I put together my first group. And it was kind of an interesting process. You know, you would never dream that in a town of less than 1,000 population, you might find 6 musicians, that could play something together. We had up to 12 people trying out, and it was fun going through that process. We were so bad that our family members, our parents, while they still wanted to support our efforts, decided amongst themselves that they would shove us off to the local barbershop and beauty salon owned by parents of one of our players and let us practice there so we would not disturb their home life, you see. So, in the beginning, we were actually known as the barbershop hip cats. Oh, okay. And we ran around in our little white sports coats with the little black hip cat on, emblazoned on the sports coat. As we got better, a funny thing happened on the way to work. Spiro had a central parking area on the main street, and people started gathering on Sunday afternoons to listen to our band play. And we got better, and we got better, and we got better. Eventually, one of our little breaks was, as with most groups, we appeared on a talent show held by, I believe, the NBC television affiliate in Tulsa, and we won the talent contest. And in that same contest was a singer-promoter, a guy named Ed Fawcett, and he had formed a little record company called Big Red Records in Tulsa. And so our first recording for Big Red was Tock, backed by What's the Matter with Me. And so that was our first experience in the recording industry, as limited as it might be. Was recorded in Tulsa, had very limited distribution, but as a result of it, stations in Oklahoma City picked it up. We began playing the notorious hops that one station here in the area sponsored back in those days, and we were running all over western Oklahoma. Not making any money, but we were playing a lot of hops and having a great time.
Well, awesome. Well, what was the rock and roll scene like back in the 50s here in Oklahoma? Was it pretty crazy or?
Yeah, we didn't have a great deal of competition, though there were a couple of groups that were forming up. I know there was one group called Shadow Lake 8 that we encountered once we got to OSU in Stillwater. They were a very popular group, a larger group, 8-piece rock and roll band that was quite good in those days. But we parlayed our little recording for Big Red into a lot of appearances at youth centers. In those days, there were a lot of youth centers. You know, kids had no place to go, and they loved to dance, and they loved music. And so Fort Smith, which was 16 miles away from Spiro, we appeared almost weekly at the youth center there to large crowds.
Wow. You and your band, the Spiro Hepcats, traveled to Nashville back in the 50s to record with RCA songs Look Out for That Clothesline and the song Native on the other side of that 45. Tell us about that trip. It was such a long way for teenage boys to travel to record.
You know, I tell you, when I look back, I just can't believe this really happened to us. You talk about some green kids from southeastern Oklahoma. We load all of our stuff up in a station wagon that I borrowed from my parents, and we haul off down to Nashville, not knowing a single soul, not a solitary soul in that town. And we start knocking on doors. I mean, we just wouldn't take no for answer, you know. And by chance, we knocked on the door of a young junior exec at Tree Publishing Company. Now, Tree in those days was publishing a lot of the big artists for RCA, including Elvis Presley, you know, one of the greats. They also did a lot of country artists, people like Jim Reeves, a great country singer. So they had some top names signed with Tree and affiliated with Tree. And so somehow this guy took the time to talk to us for a moment. And we told him about our song, Look Out for the Clothesline. And he was kind of intrigued with it, and he said, you know, have you done a demo? And I said, well, no, sir, we don't have a demo, but we have our instruments. We can bring them in and play for you, you know. And he said, well, guys, we don't have room nor the time for that. He said, you go off and record me a demo and bring it back, and I guarantee you I will listen. So I'm sure he thought that that's the last he'd ever see of the Spiro Hepcats. Well, we just wouldn't take no, so we looked around town. We found this little flea bag studio and, you know, got all our money together. I think we even called home and had them wire some money. And we did this little demo in a period of 2 days, and we're back on his doorstep. His name was Buddy Killian. Now, Buddy eventually became the chief executive officer of Tree Publishing Company, but at that time, he was a junior guy. And so he listened to the demo, and this great smile came on his face. The song, if you've heard it, is, I kind of say it's kind of a big bopper type song. It's more talk. I did more talking than singing. It had a fairly driving beat. It was fun to dance to and kind of fun to listen to. And it was one of the first songs in that era that utilized sound effects. So, long story short, he said, do you still have your instruments? And we said, well, sure, but you don't have any place to. Oh, he says, just drive around back and we'll open up this back door to this huge rehearsal hall, okay? So we bring all of our stuff in, and we're playing, and a few minutes later, this guy walked in. I thought, hey, he sure looks familiar. It was Glen Campbell. Okay, so Glen walks in, and he kind of listens, and he laughs as we're playing this song. It was meant to be humorous.
Right.
And then a few minutes later, Roger Miller walks in, you know, and he's listening, and he's laughing, and they're all adding possible verses, including Buddy Killian. So shortly thereafter, they had decided that this song had some potential, and I see Buddy on the phone talking to someone. And he comes in the rehearsal hall, and he says, guys, I've got a special guest coming over in about 10 minutes, and so I want you to just kind of keep working, be ready for him. He'll be in a minute. Within 10 minutes, Chet Adkins walks in the room. Okay, and Chet was the head A&R guy at RCA Victor Nashville at that time. Big smile on his face as he listened to our little song, and in 2 weeks, we were back to record the song on RCA Victor. So it was a huge break for us.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
yeah,
a really cool
how
story.
many people can say the first time you went to Nashville, you signed with RCA Victor? You know,
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it was a great break.
All right, well, let's go ahead and hear the record. Look Out for That Clothesline with Native by Bob Callaway. We'll be right back.
Well, I was strolling through the park just the other day. It was a nice loud morning in early May when I turned around and I heard this cat say, he said, hey, Mac, look out for the clothesline, yeah. Clothesline? What clothesline? Now I was wandering down the sidewalk a while ago, fooling around with my friend Joe, and all of a sudden this chick said to me, says, hey, Mac, look out for the tree. Yeah, tree? What's it? Now I was riding around just the other night, me and my honey and the stars out bright, when all of a sudden this little voice says to me, says, hey, Mac, look out for the spaceship. Yeah, spaceship? What spaceship? Sidewalk last Monday morning when all of a sudden I hear this horn. As I turned around, this fella yelled to me, said, hey, Mac, look out for that lawnmower. Yeah, lawnmower? What lawn? Yeah, I was on a big safari chasing lines around when my ears did perceive this crazy sound. It was coming from the lips of this native band. They said, wanna look out for quicksand. Yeah, quicksand? What quicksand? Well, now, you may think that I'm real gone, but now I don't grab and I don't groan, cause there's one thing I know for sure, and that's,
hey, Mac, look out for the cliff.
Yeah, cliff? What?
Buana Ngawa Maga Maga Mia Akamala Hia Watuzi Ayamagaha Mama Kamalaha Bia Bia Ma Kamalaha
the beating of the clock as I was walking up and down the floor. Knock, knock, him was standing in my lock. It was turning me loose one more. I said my turn, getting along, yeah. Going home, see my